So, welcome all. My name's Lorraine Copes, and I want to welcome you back for another episode of Thursday Night Takeaway. I'm the founder of Be Inclusive Hospitality, and I'm delighted to be joined by another guest this week. And I'm going to hand over to him so that he can introduce himself, what he does, and who his business is.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Thank you for the invitation to be on this podcast as well. So my name's Jag. I am the founder, alongside my partner Vishal, of Sollasa Spirits. We are a new Asian aperitif that launched just over a year and a half ago. And it's certainly been an exciting journey, sort of launching just post COVID. But the business has been sort of growing quite nicely over the last sort of 18 months or so, and looking forward to sharing a little bit more.
Super. And so, tell me what your pathway into the industry was.
Yeah, so I've spent the last 20 or so years working on working with multiple brands on the consultancy side. Primarily consumer brands, so everything from sort of Nestle to Unilever, over the years on brand strategy, innovation, packaging design. So I certainly bring more of the marketing and the sales mix to the table. Vishal, my partner, is more of the ops and commercial side. So from a team perspective, we gel really well together. And yeah, having built brands for many other clients over the years, it was always an ambition to create something of
Is it?
my own as well. And yeah, here we are with Sollasa.
Yeah, brilliant. And what was that catalyst? Why did you start?
Do you know, I think it was where a lot of brands started. It was kind of like COVID as a trigger to a certain extent. We, myself, my partner Michelle, we were actually sort of went out for a meal just as the restaurants were starting to open up, sort of post COVID. And I think as a lot of people did, either one of two ways. You kind of look deep inside and sort of decided to eat healthier and sort of work out a little bit
Mm.
more and sort of get life back on track and find that sort of balance again from a health and well-being perspective, which is what we both did. And going back out for an Indian meal, I think we wanted something that was probably just a different option to putting away 3 or 4 pints of beer with a meal and feeling a little bit sort of calorific and bloated at the end of the meal.
Yeah.
And looked at the menu and went, well, what else can we drink? And
Mm.
it was quite clear at that point that there wasn't a second natural choice within not just Indian cuisine, but sort of world cuisine. Whether you go to a Thai restaurant, Chinese restaurant, whatever that might be, beer still tends to be kind of a de facto sort of easy choice for a lot of consumers, especially from a UK market perspective.
Yeah.
And looking at it from that perspective, we decided that there is certainly a space to create a spirits brand that certainly complements different cuisines from around the world, and really building it from a food first perspective, which was our kind of our ambition. From the early days when we started looking at the flavor profile of the spirit that we were looking to create. Yes, we
Mm.
talked to mixologists and people in the drinks industry, but also to get chefs involved from an early stage. What are they using in the kitchen? What are the flavors? What are the experiences that they want consumers to sort of feel and experience when they're dining in restaurants? And from our perspective, having that food first approach was really important. We really want to have that understanding of the balance of flavors, complementing whether it be the heat, the spice, or different sweet notes, savory notes, whatever that
Yeah.
might be in different cuisines. And yeah, it was something that we started to notice that not a lot of brands had been focusing on. They're obviously the gin wave has had its wave. It's probably coming off the top of that. Rum is starting to pick up. There are certainly key spirits categories that are very, very popular. But the other thing that we noticed within the data that we looked at is this move towards much more conscious consumption of alcohol. People want to drink, people want to have a good time when they're going out, but they don't want the after effects of waking up with a heavier head, or
Yeah.
feeling that they've had a little bit too much with their
Yeah.
meal. So this move towards lower and lower
Mhm.
has certainly been something that's been gaining momentum over the last sort of 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
You see, especially when you start seeing the bigger sort of brands moving into that space, you know that the craft brands are really starting to build some traction within that space. So, it was certainly, once again, a conscious decision from our perspective not to
Mm.
build another 40% spirit, but something that
Yeah.
was a license to kind of feel as if you're drinking without the total compromise on alcohol.
Right. Okay. Nice. And you mentioned that your background was in consumer goods industry, so fairly close in proximity to the drinks industry. How has your perception changed now that you're a founder in the industry versus when you are sort of on the other side as well as a consumer?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I think looking at it from a consultancy side, we were focusing on one or two aspects of yeah, the bigger world of building a brand, and having launched our own brand, the number of different facets, the number of different obstacles that there are that potentially can go wrong and do go wrong,
Yeah,
you start really having a better appreciation of. Everything from production to rising costs. You put um, your kind of your forecasting, your business plans together, etc.
yeah,
And certain things happen and they derail things quite quickly. And making sure you can get them back on track and having that agility from our perspective, still as a small brand certainly helps.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's also quite difficult as well because the drinks industry being what it is, it's certainly geared up towards bigger brands, larger volumes, coming
yeah,
in, trying to build something at
yeah.
a smaller scale, quite organically from our point of view,
Mhm, mhm.
has its challenges as well. But yeah, it's certainly been something that we've kind of risen to the challenge of. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
we've said we've certainly had our obstacles along the way from a production perspective. Things not happening when we need them to happen, certain commitments
Yeah,
happening on the other side. So,
yeah,
certainly having kind of a partner in all of that helps for us to kind of bounce ideas off each other and making sure that you know no ball is left undropped.
yeah, sure. That makes sense. That makes sense. And was there any, other than recognizing your personal um, sort of thirst, no pun intended, but your personal thirst for the product that you've created, was there any other reason, rationale? Is there any cultural tie?
No, I said talking to a number of other sort of family members as well from our perspective. It's food tends to be quite a focal point from a cultural perspective as well. And many cultures, it really brings people together. It's a moment where people kind of share the joys of what they've been doing over the course of the day, and it brings family together, not just on a daily basis, but on special occasions as well. And you know, having something from our perspective that sits at the table and becomes part of that kind of moment of joy was something that was a trigger as well. And the brand in itself, when we started to kind of unpick the story as to where we wanted to take the brand, what the foundation of it actually was. The name Sollasa actually comes from a 12th century Sanskrit script, which was based around a volume of sort of books and recipes called the Mana Sollasa. So it was all about kind of rejoice, having fun, kind of what was
Nice.
kind of happening back in the 12th century is people really enjoying food and drink and how it kind of brought people together. And we decided to take sort of inspiration from that from our perspective. So, hence the name Sollasa was built from, yes, many centuries ago worth of sort of learnings, but trying to modernize it and make it our own in today's world.
Nice. And if I was to ask you to give me three words that would sum up your entrepreneurial journey today, what three words would you use?
Um, I'd say sort of being passionate about what we're doing. We firmly believe what we've started to build is something special, something a little bit different within the spirits sort of industry. I think the sort of the tenacity and the perseverance to a certain extent to kind of keep on going because there are many knockbacks um, during that sort of journey to get to that end goal, which is building something that we both truly be proud of. And then finally, I'd say is I think it's it's the joy as well. When people sort of consume the spirit, the feeling that it kind of gives us as founders to kind of go, do you know what, we've built this. There's somebody at the end of this really
Can imagine.
appreciating what we've got. So I think
Mm,
it's there's journeys that you go through, and it's tough to get to a product that you can put on the shelf
mm,
and be
yeah,
proud of. But then when somebody picks it up and tries it and goes, love this. Why haven't we
yeah,
seen something like this before? It's sort of real delight.
yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. Um, Tell me, when you reflect, actually, so sort of reflecting on your journey today, what has been your single biggest learning?
Um, be prepared for the unexpected.
Quite simply.
I really
Yep.
would say, yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
There's so many things even today that we sort of grapple with in terms of whether we sort of challenges during the production process or logistics, whatever it might be. I think
yeah.
always being prepared for the unexpected, I think, certainly puts us in a position where yes, we're able to kind of act on that quite quickly, and being decisive. I think from our point of view as
Mm,
well. I think there's a lot of decisions to be made along that journey, and you
mm,
can sort of wander and waver quite easily if given the time to do that. But I think from our perspective, when we do make a decision, we kind of put our shoulders behind it and really charge at
mhm.
that decision that we've made.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. And with that decision, in terms of your kind of future ambitions for the brand, what are they? Like, how big are they?
Yeah,
Mm,
we've launched one product so far.
mm.
Well, actually, we also launched a ready to drink can as well. We thought it'd be great for
Okay.
people to experience it in a much more consumable format. But we've got Sollasa,
Yeah.
which is our core brand, which is an Asian aperitif. We are looking at launching obviously new flavors
Are you?
along this journey as well. So uh, most likely, maybe towards the end of next year, we'll look at something that really builds upon what we've got at the moment, which is much more of a sort of a citrus forward
Yeah.
drink, but it's got some sort of herbal and sweet connotations to it as well, with lychee and mint
Yeah.
within the flavor profile. So we're looking at some other flavor variations to launch. We're also looking at um, export markets eventually.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's still a lot of work to be done from our perspective in the UK. We're
Yeah.
really starting to build some great traction now within sort of our tier one trade accounts. So we're in a lot of the Michelin star Indian restaurants and Asian restaurants in London now, looking at a little bit more national distribution going forward. And then ultimately retail, which is
Yeah.
a few more years away from our perspective. It's not something
Yeah.
that we're focusing on just yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
but really trying to establish a brand in the on trade, which is something we've been really successful with at the moment,
That's good.
and just continue to build on that.
Yeah, brilliant. And what are you looking forward to for the future of the industry then? You've talked about your business. How about the industry broadly, as far as
Yeah,
hospitality and drinks?
and I think there's a growing momentum towards a lot of new brands kind of arriving on the scene as well. Craft brands are certainly only just getting started as far as we can see.
Yep.
Yes, you're always going to have the big sort of flagship halo brands doing their bit, but yeah, I think this move towards alcohol brands moving towards that conscious consumption of alcohol.
Mm,
It's something that we're really happy starting to see within the industry,
yeah.
and also flavor experiences as well. You're starting to see brands really experiment with flavors. The complexity and
Mm,
the intricacy of how they're sort of blending their spirits as well is really interesting. So, whereas it used to be a little bit more one dimensional to a certain extent, I think there's certainly some really interesting stories coming out with regards to how brands are building
Yeah.
their story, the flavor
Yeah.
experiences, and this move towards much more conscious consumption of alcohol. So lots to kind
Yeah.
of play for, and some really exciting things happening.
Yeah, great. I've got a question for you around the conscious consumer and how much information you currently have on who your consumer is. Um,
Uh, it's something that, as a young brand, we're always still trying to get to the bottom of.
yeah,
We
yeah,
try and use data as much as possible, whether it be
mm,
through our social channels in terms of understanding what that demographic is, through our website, through other data channels, analytics as well, and also a lot of reports that are potentially out there as well. I think we've started to get a much better understanding of who we're aiming towards, what their needs, wants, desires are, and how
mhm,
we
mhm,
communicate our brand to that
mhm,
audience as well. So
yeah,
it is, from our perspective, a slightly more female skewed brand.
same.
Um,
Mhm,
uh, I think we're never going to be able to convince the guys that are always drinking beer in a restaurant to switch
mhm,
to a
mhm,
20% spirit. But there are
yeah,
certainly people who have been out there, tried it, and
yeah,
certainly would consider it. But it's something that we're always kind of working with to understand the analytics that are available to us.
mm,
And one of the great things is, we're always at a number of events as well. So speaking to consumers directly really,
yeah,
really helps us to understand, from a qualitative perspective, what
mm,
are they saying about a drink? When would they drink it? How would they drink it? Who would they drink it with?
yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah,
that bit of
yeah.
information certainly helps. So we've got a number of events this year, Pub in the Park, and events such as that we're certainly attending.
Super, brilliant. Um, Final question for you is around the economic climate. And obviously, it's an extremely difficult time, just broadly, especially around the supply chain. So anything that goes into the kind of pot to create anything from energy to logistics to product. How is the economic climate affecting your kind of longer term plan or not? Um,
It's a difficult one because, from when we launched to even today,
mm,
yeah, inflation has been a big thing, not just for us in the alcohol industry, but
yeah,
for
of course,
everyone,
of
to be
course, of
honest.
course. Yeah.
And to a certain extent, you can factor or absorb some of that cost. I think some of the
Mm,
big costs for us are production and logistics.
yeah.
Production more than anything, sourcing of simple things like cardboard for packaging, bottle sourcing from our suppliers in France. It's all gone up,
Yeah.
and to maintain a price point where it's still uh, sort of desirable for consumers to buy into a brand. We're still building awareness, we're still building traction.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got a base of consumers who will now come back and repeat purchase, but still, from our point of view, trying to pitch a 20% brand at a particular price point is tough, and we
Yeah.
don't want to increase costs.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is an element of absorption. How long we can continue to absorb that, we shall see.
Mhm,
But it's
mhm.
something that has been a challenge. We launched just post COVID. The
Yeah.
on trade wasn't fully firing on all cylinders, so
Yeah.
the volume expectation that we had versus where we got to,
Of
not quite
course.
there. And now we're going
Yeah.
through sort of recessionary pressures as well. People potentially
Mhm,
eating out less. So
mhm.
there's a lot of things that kind of come into the mix with
Okay.
regards to forecast of sales versus cost of goods as well. And yeah, trying to put that all into the mix, which my partner Vishal thankfully is brilliant at. Certainly helps us to kind of be on top of.
Super. Brilliant. Well, we've come to the end of the interview. I've just got the final few, I think six quick fire questions that I'm going to pose to you just so we can get to know you a bit better. And the first is, what's your favorite smell?
Uh, Sort of fresh alpine air,
Okay.
crisp and clean.
Yeah. Nice. Favorite season?
Summer,
Yep. Number? Favorite number?
8.
Cool. Any reason?
Uh, no, I just I think it's got a lot of symmetry to it, and it just
Okay.
it feels like more of an even number man than an odd man as well. So
Yep.
yeah, as
Yep.
an even number, it's sort of it works.
Oh, cool. Super. Favorite time of the day?
Mornings, first thing in the morning, sort of sun rising, fresh start to the
Yep.
day, lot
Yep.
to kind of get through. So plenty to look forward to first
Yep.
thing in the morning.
Yep. Favorite color
Blue.
and favorite drink?
Can I say Sollasa and tonic, or do I need
I
to choose
think you
something else?
can. You can actually. You can. You can. Tell
Yeah,
me this actually. Something we didn't touch on. Just about how Solasa pairs. Is it generally tonic, or are there any other like quite cool
yeah.
mixers?
No, so our signature serve. I mean, we developed the spirit to be consumed with tonic water.
Yep.
So that's a nice, simple, straightforward serve that anybody can create at home, similar to a gin and tonic. We've got a Celestron tonic with a squeeze of lime. But we've also recently, in the last sort of 12 months or so, created probably the best part of probably 15, 16 recipes, cocktail
Nice.
recipes. So, people who want a little bit more savory punch or spice punch kind of coming through their drinks, or something that might be a little bit sweeter. So
Yeah.
a lot of those recipes are available on our website as well. We work with the trade as well to create some really interesting ones. Brigadiers have just launched a summer cocktail menu. They've got
Nice.
three really interesting cocktails that they've created with their in-house drinks development team. So the versatility from a drinks perspective
Right.
is certainly there.
Right.
And I think that's what the on-trade really love about it, and consumers as well. That you can have it quite simply with a tonic, or you can sort of make it in something a little bit more special if you wanted to.
Super, brilliant. Well, I've obviously tasted the product, and it is fantastic.
What did you think?
And so I thought it was amazing. I thought it was unlike anything I had tried before. And we received tons of feedback from a lot of the guests at the awards as well about it. So really great,
Great,
really good.
brilliant.
And so thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure catching up with you and hearing about you and your journey. Please do stay in touch. We look forward to kind of following your journey as you move forward. And thank you all for joining us this evening. You will find us here at the same place and the same time in 2 weeks' time. We'll see you then. Take care. Bye.